Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. It's Carolyn. Today I have another unboxing video for you. So I'm going to be unboxing the Sacred Creators Oracle, and this is by Carolyn and I'm. So this Oracle deck has 67 different cards in it. I don't believe I have another Oracle deck by Carolyn and I do have the Lightseers Tarot and the Muse Tarot, and I like those decks a lot. I don't use them all the time, but every time I've read with them, I liked the guidebook. I like the details that have been provided in it, and so I'm sure that this guidebook is also going to be just as thorough, even though it is an Oracle deck. So my first impressions of the cards is that the box is very sturdy. This is going to be your standard box you find with most Oracle and Tarot decks. You kind of open the lid like this and you pull it, and then inside I like how there is a lot of detailing on the box. So on the inside of the box it says, "You are a sacred creator and you can build the life of your dreams. Wishing you so much success and joy on your creator journey." And then on the bottom of the box it says, "Unlock your sacred creations, meditations, biz guide, and all the extras." And so again, this box is very sturdy. If you store your cards in the boxes, it's going to hold up for a long time. This is how I tend to store my cards, and I haven't had an issue, and that's why I'll always tell you if there is an issue with the structure of the box and how long it will hold up, because that's the first thing that I'm going to notice. So I zoomed you in a little bit closer for the guidebook. So I love the colors that is used throughout the packaging of this deck. I feel like that's one of the main things that drew me to this deck, and it really embodies the creator energy that this deck is trying to give off. So you got the table of contents, and then you have the welcome page, working with these cards, the process of going through them, a quick guide for the new card reader. Okay, that's nice. I always like it when guidebooks have information for beginners. Then you have some tarot spreads. So it looks like there's a 1-card spread, 2-card spread, a couple 3-card spreads. This looks like there's a lot. This looks like it could be about a 6-card spread. No, there's a 4-card spread and then a 6-card spread. Okay, I thought this was all combined at first. And so here you have the messages. So this is where the cards start. And so it looks like for each of the cards you have the number on top. This one starts with 0, kind of like in tarot with the Fool. And so then it has the wording on the card here. So overthinking can spoil the magic. You have the essential meaning, the self-care message, and then a little bit about the card. And then it looks like you have some questions to ponder. I'm gonna go ahead and look at some of the other cards. Yes, it looks like it's going to be questions for all of them, or things to ponder about the cards, or things that it's wanting you to ask yourself. So overall, I think that this guidebook is very in-depth. It's very well detailed. I like how Carolyn and makes decks that is meant for all levels of readers. I think that there's a lot of information in this guidebook that's great if you're a beginner, especially because there's a lot of guidance with how to start to form a connection with your cards and understand how to read them and interpret them for yourself. I like that there is a lot of different tarot spreads to try out in this deck as well, but there's also enough information and enough of a unique perspective with these cards, especially because they are oracle cards, where even an intermediate can pick this up and still feel familiar with it, but also learn something new from it. This guidebook definitely follows the structure that a lot of the other guidebooks follow. So if you have a Carolyn deck and you like it, I would say that you're going to like this one just as much if you go off the guidebooks alone. I haven't looked at the cards just yet. I think that there's a lot of information with the cards that's really going to help deliver the message for you. I like how there's the essential meanings, and then there's the self-care message, and then there's a little bit more about the card, because it kind of offers these different perspectives and different ways it can affect your life for you to really understand the meaning of the card, especially for something like Oracle, where there is so many different perspectives. Nothing's quite right or wrong, and it's all up to your intuition. I really like how this guidebook has enough information to help you out if you're new to reading Oracle. And so overall, with the guidebook, the first impressions alone, I would say this deck is made for people of all levels. It doesn't feel like this deck is made for anyone in a specific point of their journey when it comes to being able to trust their intuition and read the cards. It more so feels like it's meant for people who are looking to tap into their sacred creator, which this deck is all about. So it really feels like it's meant for a personality type and not a demographic of people, if that makes sense. So I zoomed you in a little bit more so you can see the cards themselves. This is the back of the deck. It's going to be a little bit hard to see because my table is white and the back of the cards is white as well. But I really like the simplicity of the back of this card. I like the white background with the really fine line detailing and this brown, almost gold looking color. It definitely reminds me of previous artworks by Carolyn, especially in their other tarot cards, but it's one that I really like, and I love when the back of the cards looks really pretty and aesthetically pleasing, and that's what this deck feels like to me. I'm not sure if they're going to get dirty over time because they are white. I I try to keep my cards as clean as I can, but I know sometimes the back of the cards can suffer a bit more because if you're working with a surface that's not necessarily clean, majority of the time it's going to be the back of the card on the surface, not the front of the card. So the image on the card might stay nice and pretty, but the back of the card is going to take the brunt of whatever you're working with. So that's going to be something you want to keep in mind if you're someone where you like your cards to look really nice over time, and if you're also someone where you read on the go and you don't have a specific place to read people at all the time. But overall, I think it's really pretty. If you don't care about the back of your decks, it doesn't really matter, but it is a nice little detail that I appreciate. So now we have the cards themselves. I love the simplicity of this deck. I love how you just have the color coordination with the quote or the phrase on it, and then you have a little bit of artwork, but it's very minimalistic, and it's very simple, and I like that for this deck because it is one about the sacred creator. It really leaves it open to interpretation and for your intuition to really connect with the message of this deck, which is to be the sacred creator. If you're wanting something with a lot of details, I don't think this is going to be the right fit for you. I think this is really meant for people who are tapping into that creative energy and wanting to receive messages in a way that is a little bit more fluid and less abrasive. This is really meant for creative, intuitively driven people, or people who are wanting to develop those skills more. So I'm going to go ahead and start the flip through for these cards. The Leo Moon and Rising in me loves this card for the lion imagery. I have to say once again, I love the vibrancy of these cards. They're just so stunning to look at, and they just make you happy. I love the colors that they have. I also love the minimalistic artwork that goes along with each of the cards. I think it really conveys the energy of the card well. It matches what it says on it, and then when you read the guidebook, it only enhances the meaning that much more. Some of my favorite cards is Fierce Serenity. That's because I have a lot of Leo placements. I love lions. I also love Bravely Market Your Magic, because to me, this card is talking about putting yourself out there, marketing yourself, and allowing yourself to fully embrace who you are and sell yourself as you are, not trying to hide who you are. And I love that energy of being authentic. And then I love Shift, the Way to New Potential. And I love this card because it has this mystique to it, because it's colorful, yes, but it's a little bit of a darker energy. It's a little bit more of a transformative energy here. And so I really like how this deck plays with color and using that to convey its message, but doesn't steer away from the darker aspects of things. I love how it's a balance of it all. I want to point out that I realized some things in hindsight after looking at the card and the guidebook. I realized that I did not look at all the cards for the guidebook. So you have the cards that I went through and I showed you, and how you have the essential meaning, then you have the self-care message, and you have a little bit about the card. But then you have the creator card. So these are all of the elements. And so you have a little bit about the cards itself, and then you have the element of blank and a deep dive on it. And there you have different things to help you connect with the energy, and it's curated specifically for that element. So it's not going to be the same thing just with that element replaced in it. It's really kind of like introspective things you can work with that element on. And so I wanted to point that out for those of you where you are interested in getting this deck for the elemental cards and what the guidebook has to offer on them. And so I still stand by the fact that I think this guidebook is extremely informative. I think there's a lot of information, and it really allows you to have this introspection with this deck. I feel like this deck is really made for those of you where you either want an oracle deck to clarify a tarot reading, or you're wanting to pull cards to kind of ponder things, think about yourself, maybe use them for shadow work or some sort of reflection, introspection. I would really recommend this deck for any level with where you're at, whether you're a beginner or you've been reading these cards for a while now. I think it's going to be a good fit for you if you feel like you vibe with these cards. One, you have to like this minimalistic approach to them. If you are not someone where you like very simple pulled back cards with mainly the quote being the main focus of the card, you're not going to like this. So for those of you where you love tarot because of the imagery and the symbolism in it, this is not going to be the deck for you. But for those of you where you have worked with oracle cards before and you worked with minimalistic decks before, or you feel drawn to do so, this is going to be a really good deck for you. I would also recommend getting this deck if you're someone where you want to pull a card and use that as your inspiration for the day. If you are someone where you are artistic, I think this would be really fun to, use as a daily pull and to use it to inspire you on something to create that day. I think embodying the energy of the sacred creator would be really beneficial when working with this deck. So you have to have a very creative energy when working with this deck, or being willing to work with cards that have a creative energy. I would say this deck doesn't really lean towards being used for something super intense. I wouldn't suggest using this oracle deck to try and do specific mediumship with, or trying to do intense shadow work or getting to the root of a true issue. I think this is good to use in collaborations with other cards, but I don't think this alone can go that far, because while the cards do lean a little bit more into darker aspects, like what shift the way to the new potential, I don't think there's enough of those more negative cards in the deck to balance it out. I think your reading would be a little bit overly optimistic when trying to pull on more serious topics. I think when using this with another deck, it's going to have that balance where you're going to be able to see the reality of a situation and then see this deck's perspective and its message on it. You have to remember that this is an oracle deck, so it's not going to be as versatile as tarot. But if you have been wanting this because you feel drawn to it, I definitely think it's going to be a good enhancement to your readings. I think if you're using it one-on-one with yourself, it's going to be extremely beneficial. I think there's a lot of introspection that you can have with this deck. And so I think it does a really good job at fitting what it's meant for. And this is definitely a deck that's meant for people who have this creative energy, have this very intuitive energy, where you pick up on messages and nuances of things, but you do so in a way in which you're using it to improve yourself or look at a situation with a unique, creative perspective. Now, for those of you who are wanting to know the size of these cards, I would say that they're about the size of a normal tarot deck. I compare them with the light seers, and they look to be the same size, if not ever so slightly smaller, but not enough where it's going to make a big enough difference. So if you know how to shuffle normal tarot cards, then this deck's going to be super easy for you. And I would also recommend this if you're learning to shuffle cards, because it is very flexible. You're not fighting the cards when you're shuffling them, which is going to help you, if you're not used to shuffling, not get so many inadvertent jumpers. And so overall, my final impressions of this deck is that I love it. I think it's stunning. I really love the energy that the cards give out, because again, it's so colorful. It just makes me feel like it's a super happy deck. And so I think it fits the mode of being a sacred creator oracle deck really well. I think this is great for those of you who you have this like high intensity creative energy, or you're wanting to tap into that. And I also think it would do a really good job of helping you create and cultivate the life that you want. I think for the sacred creators, talking about being a creator of your own life, of your own destiny, this deck does a really good job of bringing those messages messages forward. And so as long as this is a deck that you really like and you've been wanting, I would say to go ahead and get it because it's made for all levels. It was very easy to use. It's very beginner friendly, and I think it's going to be one that's going to enhance your readings. I think for those of you where you use oracle cards in tandem with tarot, you're going to love this deck because I think it really enhances a tarot reading and adds some more information without taking away from the tarot message. That's what I love about the minimalistic artwork. It's that you can use it with tarot and it's not going to have an overbearing message where now you're having like 20 messages at once. To me, it feels like it's going to enhance it. And so if you are trying to use this deck for a little bit more of a serious reading or darker reading, if you're using it in tandem, I think it's going to work just fine because it does have those darker energies running through these cards with their messages. But you have to be aware of those energies going into it. And so again, that's where I feel like this deck might not provide answers if you're just using it alone and using it to do a free pull for without any prior guidance on the situation. But using it in tandem, I think is going to work really well. And then using it for more lighthearted introspection, reflection type things is going to be extremely beneficial because I can already tell because of the key words sticking out to me on these cards and the way the guidebook works and the readings I've done for myself in the meantime, it works really well for that. And so if you're wanting this deck even for your own self-growth, this is a great deck to get. And so I really recommend this deck. It's really just knowing what you want it for and what your reading style is to know if this is going to fit with you. So definitely think it through. But if that all sounds good for you and if it's something that you really want, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't get this deck. And so let me know if you found this review helpful. If you did, let me know in the YouTube comments down below if you own this deck or if you're going to purchase it. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and share with others who might be interested in this deck. Like I said, I'm going to have my playlist linked in the cards above for more tarot and oracle unboxings. I'm also going to have other videos linked in the cards above that you can watch after this one. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. I would love to have you a part of this family. Make sure you turn on that bell notification so you don't miss out when I post my next video. I can't wait to see you all there. I hope you have a good one. Bye.